Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. In the midst of her recovery, Duggar Dillard has some disturbing news to share. A miscarriage occurred in April 2024 for the 33-year-old. Jill has received a lot of sympathy from her admirers. By posting pictures of her family enjoying nature, she has been making an effort to maintain an upbeat attitude on social media. But after being involved in a vehicle accident, Jill surprised everyone. To find out what happened, continue reading. Even now, Jill and Derek and their children continue to enjoy each other's company. The mother hides her boys' faces from the public. However, the former Counting on Star continues to record their endeavors. While enjoying a warm campfire with Derek last week, Jill posted a snapshot of her coffee. Making it to her children's swimming classes is another thing she's been occupied with. Even though she is estranged from her parents, Jim, Bob, and Michelle, Jill is now able to live a quiet life, which is a relief for many followers. However, she had already made it clear that they are actively repairing their relationship and making an effort to spend time together whenever possible. A recent vehicle accident was shared by Duggar Dillard on Instagram stories. An unlicensed motorist struck her and her children on February 13, 2025, according to the Counting on alum. Regarding the accident, she remained mum. However, persistent discomfort has now become her reality. In addition, she sought guidance from her followers on how to manage the discomfort. As if to hint that she was planning to sue, Jill continued by saying that it's great to have a lawyer spouse. "I have a husband who is an attorney. Makes my mind rest at ease a little bit better. We are trying to figure it out," she stated. Being glad that her automobile collision wasn't as horrific as the ones she watched on TV was another thing Jill was grateful for. "The fact that it was not worse is what I keep reminding myself," she continued. "What really scared me was that we were traveling with our children." Another Instagram post from earlier this month had Jill informing her children about her summer plans. The Counting on Star claims that her sons, who had been longing for summer days and gardening, were reminiscing about the lengthy winter season. Because of this, she got them some houseplants, and they've been enjoying taking care of them immensely. Jill has been silent for the last week about her family, which is likely attributable to the vehicle accident they were in not long ago. With her thoughts consumed by running errands and juggling the everyday demands of parenting, Duggar Dillard fastened her youngest son into his car seat as the afternoon sun dipped below the horizon. As she adjusted the mirror to ensure her two sons were securely fastened in the back, the comforting buzz of routine around her. She got into the driver's seat and sighed as she checked her phone for any last-minute messages from her husband, Derek. Her whole day was about to take a horrific turn, and she had no idea it was coming. Jill had just returned from a shopping trip where she had stocked up on fruits, snacks, and a few goodies for the boys. She was so preoccupied with juggling her boys' endless energy with the grocery list that she hardly noticed the heavy traffic as she entered a major route. On their way home, they had traveled this road ad nauseam, passing by familiar sights each time while the children giggled and chattered in the back. But her attention was drawn to a whirl of activity as she approached a crossroads. At her van's approach, a black vehicle slammed through a red light before she could respond. It was a startling collision. The air was filled with the ear-piercing sound of metal against metal, followed by the cries of her children. As her vehicle jolted sideways, tires slamming into the tarmac, Jill felt her breath tighten in her throat. With clenched fists, she clutched the wheel as the shock coursed through her whole being. After then, there was complete quiet. Everything came to a halt for an instant. As she pushed herself to move, the sharp aroma of burned rubber and gasoline wafted into her nose. Her children were her top priority. "Hey there." She turned to see whether they were okay, and she gasped as she asked. Their little cheeks were smeared with tears as they sobbed, yet amazingly, none of them was hurt. She felt a wave of relief wash over her, but it didn't last long since she quickly turned to face the other car. The vehicle came to a halt a short distance away after spinning around, its front end entirely crushed. A guy in his late 20s seemed disoriented as he got out of the vehicle. With shaking hands, Jill grabbed for her phone and phoned 911. As she attempted to remain calm and reassure her sons that assistance was on the way, Adrenaline coursed through her veins. Scary shadows were thrown over the area as red and blue lights flashed and the sound of sirens echoed through the air. The cops wasted little time in assessing the situation upon their arrival. The children and Jill were able to avoid major injuries, according to the paramedics who evaluated them, since they were wearing their seatbelts and the airbags were deployed. The second motorist, who seemed anxious and confused, was the focus of the police's attention. His answers were brief and evasive when probed. It didn't take long for it to become apparent that he was driving without a license, was in the nation illegally, and had been driving without insurance or identification. Even worse, eyewitnesses said he was texting and speeding just before he ran the red light. As the police officers handcuffed the guy, Jill, who was still frightened, observed. Anger, terror, and, above all else, thankfulness that her children were safe, surged inside her. Jill had already provided her statement to the authorities when Derek arrived at the site. As the truth of what had transpired began to set in, the boys clung to her as she struggled to suppress her emotions. With an emotionally charged speech, Derek drew her into a passionate embrace. Prayers tell me you're all right. Jill sat in the peace and quiet of their living room that night, absorbing the events of the day, after she had finally put the kids to sleep. She was plagued by the what-ifs. Why didn't she just leave the business a few minutes after she entered? Is it possible that the effect may have been more severe? What if her lads had suffered life-threatening injuries? She prayed silently, closing her eyes in gratitude. Though horrifying, the event served as a sobering reminder of the brevity of life. This would be a tale that Jill would never forget. It would teach her about God's protection, the value of cautious driving, and the harsh reality of road perils. She was most certain that she would love her children more deeply, cling to them more tightly, and treasure every minute they shared. The careless motorist would face the consequences of their actions. As far as Jill was concerned, the fact that her loved ones had survived was the ultimate victory.